Well, now on to one organization and that received a much appreciated donation from some local chiropractors. Chiropractic offices from Portland, Calallen, Jim Wells, and Kingsville presented a check to CASA of the Coastal Bend with more than $4,000. All of the proceeds came from their new patient exam card program and decided to give the money to CASA. Members of the organization say they're happy to receive the donation and can't wait to implement it into their training.
Training is about a 2-week evening or daytime training, and we feed our volunteers and we have materials that they need for the training, so we will use it towards that.
And of course, CASA stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates, and they speak up for the needs of foster kids in need of a forever home. To learn more about CASA of the Coastal Bend, and if you're interested in donating or volunteering, just visit our website, chiiitv.com.